Okay, so tonight I wanted to share just a couple thoughts with you. Last week, Chris Batista shared a little bit about his story, if you remember, and I guess what struck me about what Chris was sharing, if you remember, he was talking about his life, about how he running into obstacles. He had a plan, and he runs into obstacles, and basically it was that he just decided that he wouldn't give up. And how easy it is in our lives when we're faced with struggle and barriers and stress and that kind of thing to just give up. And he decided that he wasn't going to give up. And then as he kept moving and taking the next step, doing the next right thing, things began to open up for him. And he shared a little bit about how that happens. But it struck me as I was listening to Chris and actually listening to you guys too, and your stories and where you've come from, where we've come from as a community, that that all of you are resilient. You guys are resilient. This community is resilient. And what does resilience mean? Well, it means that you have this ability to adapt in your situation when you're faced with obstacles, when you're faced with stress, maybe even experience of trauma, experiences that throw roadblocks in your way, whether that's with family or friends or financial stress or whatever it may be. You guys are resilient. And I don't know if you've ever understood yourselves that way, but looking at you here across this room tonight and every Thursday night, I mean, I think that. And what would it look like for you to begin to see yourselves, for us to see ourselves that way, that we are resilient people? Another word for that is grit, right? You got grit. You guys have grit. And grit is this combination of passion and perseverance to keep on going, to get back up, to bounce back. And a part of that grit is also this faith that each of you carries in your heart. And actually it's a faith that carries you when you want to give up. And you all have that. You got grit. This community has grit. That's, I think, one of the distinctive factors, qualities of this community. So Maya Angelou, do y'all know who Maya Angelou is? She's an African-American poet, author, civil rights activist. She wrote this: "It is the belief in a power larger than myself and other than myself which allows me to venture into the unknown and even into the unknowable." It is the belief in a power bigger than myself and other than myself that allows me to venture into the unknown and the unknowable. In other words, it's this faith in a God who is bigger than us, but is also within us, that allows us to take risks, that moves us to our grit, that helps us to persevere, that helps us to be, well, what you guys are, resilient. This power that is in us. And we look at ourselves, we look at our bodies, we think, well, how does this happen inside of us? And there's this great passage in 2 Corinthians. It's in chapter 4, verse 7. The Apostle Paul says this. And he's talking about the presence of God that we have in us. But we have this treasure, this presence of God, in clay jars, in these unadorned clay pots of our ordinary lives. Why? So that it may be made clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. This extraordinary power belongs to us, to God. It does not come, but this God lives in us. And this God, who is larger than us and bigger than us, actually is the source of the grit and the resilience, the perseverance that Chris was talking about last week. And I'm looking at you tonight and want you to know that each of you has. Each of you's got grit. The presence of God in you. So I guess the message tonight is to just to simply say that to remind anyone who may try to tell you otherwise that when you get knocked down, You have the power within you to get back up. And that there is no barrier, there is no obstacle, that this power who is greater than yourself and beyond yourself, that is within you, this God who is in you, cannot see you through. And remind yourself tonight when you lay down, your head hits the pillow, hey, I got grit. I got grit. And it's the grace of God that gives us that. All right? Amen.